whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing.
Hello and welcome, bienvenidos, to Schools with Heart. I'm Olivia LaField's with an inspiring story to conclude our focus on community in the classroom. After more than 30 years of my passion for teaching community, it's never waned, even a little. Just think of it, a group of radically different students learning to help each other, respect each other, work as a team, solve conflicts peacefully, and as a result, feel like a family. Do you think the students in that community will enjoy school more? Do you think they'll learn more because they're happy? Do you think that by learning to do unto others, that they're acquiring lifelong skills that will not only enhance, but possibly even salvage their personal relationships? To illustrate my point, today I'm going to share a story that I shall never forget all the days of my life. My story is about a group of 7th graders who simply could not work through their differences despite repeated attempts. Past mere frustration, they were sick of each other. How vividly I recall the day that we met in the Commons for what seemed inevitably to be the final attempt at resolution. Everyone, including me, seemed to have run out of words. You know how that is. You reach that stalemate, that impasse of finality, when resolution becomes an effort in futility. So you just shut down. You stop, at least for the moment, and just sit there, mute. That's exactly what happened that day. At the very same moment, all 6 of us paused, as if numb from talking and struggling to achieve a solution. And in the midst of that lingering pause, Katie, obviously the most exasperated of us all, broke the silence with disgust. "I want out of this group," she yelled. What followed Katie's outburst was nothing less than one of those rare luminous moments in time when somebody says or does something that jolts you awake as if by a sudden shock wave, leaving you injected with X-ray understanding. Some people call them aha moments. I prefer to believe that they're perfectly timed, brilliant flashes of God's light that illuminate our minds with divine clarity. Such were the flashes that lit up the movie screen of my mind with a disturbing image of Katie, 20 years down the road. Deeply embittered and hardened by disappointment stemming from broken relationships. I saw her in my mind's eye once again repeating those same words, but this time to her husband. "I want out of this marriage." Try to imagine the powerful effect of that revelation. We were all ready to give up, but God had other plans. I don't think I even took a breath before the words began to spill out. The kids were drawn in like magnets to the urgent intensity of my voice, and I quickly captured their rapt attention. As you may well know, in a time like this, we don't have to try to think about what to say. The perfect words just come, and we all know on a soul level that they aren't our words because they're just too perfect, too inspired, too anointed for our limited mind to fashion. God helped me in that moment capture it and turn their stubborn hearts back to considering the possibility of reconciliation. How was that achieved? I helped them see that what they were experiencing was no different from what happens to the untold numbers of marriages that fall apart because people, for whatever reason, don't, can't, and won't work through their differences. They haven't learned to solve their conflicts along the way, and suddenly it seems too late. I was able to make it very clear to my students, especially because most of them were the innocent victims of 2 people who didn't solve their conflicts using emotional intelligence. What was the turning point that day? I penetrated their hearts. I got them feeling. feeling. Tried and true, the principle can be depended on virtually every time. If we can discover a way to penetrate children's hearts and help them generate compassion and empathy for others, we can help them relinquish their defenses and the barriers that sabotage their interpersonal relationships and alienate them from others. If we can penetrate children's hearts, we can help them see and understand the viewpoints of others, and in doing so empower them with the tools to live harmoniously and peacefully in an imperfect world, a world teeming with imperfect people, all of whom need understanding, empathy, and forgiveness. Do you see the enormity of this principle, my friends? Clearly, it's nothing less than the essence of emotional intelligence. Notice I said, if we can penetrate children's hearts. The word if begs a further question. How? How do we do it? The answer to that question is the reason for this channel. We do it with great love. And where there is great love, there are miracles. How did love prevail that day in the Commons? How did it penetrate the hearts of my students? I lived the lessons of love. First, last, and most important, I was patient. Never forget, love is patient. A lesson that I had to learn the hard way. Believe me when I say that I have to pray for patience, because without prayer, I would fall back into my old ways, to the days when I wounded children with my lack of patience. Up to the very second when I saw the vision of Katie and her husband, I maintained a right heart attitude. If I hadn't, there would have been no vision. Impatience would have given up and admitted defeat right along with the kids. It would have voiced its frustration. It would have effectively blocked a peaceful resolution. It would have precipitated divorce. That day in the Commons, we all witnessed an unmistakable miracle. 5 despondent students, all helplessly resigned to failure, unanimously agreed to try again. As you can imagine, I was overcome with emotion. No teacher was ever more proud. But I quickly warned them of their need for more than simply a singular agreement. As I explained it to them, they had reached consensus, not community. They needed a plan, an agreed upon blueprint to faithfully follow when the future storms would inevitably hit, and hit hard. Honoring the plan, I told them, would require that they would hold each other strictly accountable. At that point, I made a very wise decision. I left them on their own to devise that plan. To continue guiding them would have deprived them of the extreme sense of pride that they would ultimately feel when they reached community. Devising their own plan would award them with credit for success. And that is how we empower our students to achieve independence. When we rescue our students by solving their problems for them, we rob them of that power. Just as parents who rescue their children when they're learning to walk cultivate an attitude of dependence. Children who are empowered to achieve dream dreams and move mountains. They're the doers of this world. With a deep sense of humility and profound awe, I returned to my class and left them with a prayer for God's continued guidance and a speedy resolution. And now for the happy ending. Calling me excitedly back into the comments. They were like overblown balloons, fairly bursting to reveal their plan. One part of the plan, as I recall, was to alternate task managers every 2 days. A significant part of their problem was a bossy task manager who, with the best of intentions, had alienated himself. Once everyone had performed for 2 days, they would vote for the best candidate. Happily, their task manager agreed. After all, he was reaping the benefit of a second chance. In addition to other details that have escaped my memory, they determined who would hold whom accountable. Amazed and utterly impressed, I was fast approaching the speechless zone that meant one thing: a bucket of tears. What I didn't know in that moment was that they had saved the best for last. They had unanimously agreed that no matter what obstacles they might face in the future, they would remain committed, not so much to each other, but to the goal of reaching community. They had agreed that divorce was not an option. Viewing their struggles from the perspective of a rocky marriage, they saw the prospect of reaching community from a completely different standpoint. Failing to reach community to get a divorce was not an option. 5 12-year-olds esteemed the concept of community above their own personal needs, interests, and self-centered demands, and therein lay the miracle. I wish every teacher in America could have been there that day. It was nothing less than magnificent. Did they reach community? You bet they did. Was I proud? Aren't mothers always proud when their babies learn to walk? Was the celebration spectacular? You know it was. Don't you just love happy endings? Happy children endings make my life worth living. The more I can teach the teachers of America to learn to live the lessons of love with their students, the stronger our families will grow, and the stronger the American family unit, the stronger and freer and safer our country will be. One teacher at a time. That's how we'll do it. We'll do it for future generations to come. Can you think of anything more important to live for, strive for, and boldly stand for? God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.